Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we are back with the 8BitDo family of controllers because the other day 8BitDo announced that they are now officially supported by Apple devices. That includes the iPhone and the iPad along with the Apple TV. And I've got a bunch of compatible controllers here, and I thought I would take a look and see if this is working and what needs to happen on your older controllers like this one to get it to work. But hopefully now we won't have to go through all of the shoehorning that we used to have to do to get these controllers working with iOS devices. They should now be supported natively. So we're going to get into this in just a second, but I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that all of the 8BitDo controllers featured in this video today were sent to the channel free of charge over the years by 8BitDo. However, these are my favorite controllers, especially the Pro 2 here. All the opinions, though, you're about to hear are my own. No one is paying for this review, nor has anyone reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. So let's get into it now and see how we can get these controllers to work with our iOS devices. Now, 8BitDo has a support page up on their website where you can get information on compatibility. At the time I'm shooting this video, the SN30 Pro controllers work with it, the Pro Plus, the Pro 2, their Ultimate controller, and the Lite SE. And what you can do is go into the controller that you have here on the compatibility list, and if you click on your controller, you can get the instructions as to how to get it to pair up with your device. Of note is that you can plug in directly with the USB-C cable on iPads that have a USB-C port. However, if you have an iPhone with a Lightning connector or an iPad with a Lightning connector, you can only use it over Bluetooth. So direct connections will work with iPads like my iPad Pro here, but it won't work with Lightning-equipped devices. Now, you'll probably, though, have to get a firmware update going first, like my old controller here. So why don't we go through that process of updating the firmware on this, and then we'll pair it up with my iPad and see if we can get everything working. Now, if you've never updated the firmware on your 8BitDo controller, I would suggest you do it no matter what, because oftentimes there are some features and bug fixes that get pushed down. You'll find that in the support section here, and you can run the tool on Windows and on Mac OS, and we'll be running it on the Mac here, but it looks the same on both platforms. Now, I have my controller here plugged in via USB to my Mac right now, and you can see that it found the controller, and my firmware is very much out of date on this older controller. So we're going to bring this one up to 2.0. So I'm going to go ahead and run that process. And when the firmware update is complete, we will then connect it to my iPad and see if it works. All right, so the firmware update is done, and what we're going to start with here is connecting up our older controller with a wired connection to this iPad, which has a USB-C port. And the reason why we're going to go wired on this first example is because I don't have a lot of charge in the battery. Now, what you need to do is hold down B and start to put it into direct input mode. And then once it's in that mode, you can get it connected to your iPad here. And now that the controller is hooked up, the light is on here. Again, this is an older one. And as you can see, it's already responding to some button pushes I'm doing. And I have Oceanhorn loaded up here, which is a great game you'll find on the Apple Store, but also in the Apple Arcade. And what I'm going to do here is just kind of test out the controls and see how it all comes together here. So let's get through the little opening screen here, and we'll skip that. It looks like the buttons are working already. Now, before, when you plugged in one of these controllers, nothing would happen. But now it appears as though we have full control here. So not bad. And again, I didn't have to do anything other than just put it in the right mode and plug it in. Again, we're hooked up via a USB-C cable to the USB-C port here. Not bad. All right, so now that we have this thing working, I think, why don't we take out my other controllers here and see if we can get a Bluetooth connection going. All right, so now let's get my Pro 2 controller going. And this one works a little different than the other controller we just had, because instead of using button pushes to determine its mode, it actually has a physical switch on the bottom of it. So what they want me to do is have the switch in direct input mode. It might be hard to see on camera, but I have the switch on the D setting, which is the direct input mode. And what I'm going to do on this controller is begin its Bluetooth pairing. So I'm going to switch it back on here by holding down the start button. And then I'm going to push the pairing button here at the top, and that will get our little lights dancing. And what I should see here now is 8BitDo Pro 2 on my list of supported devices. And now it's connected. And this never really worked this way before. And now if we go back into Oceanhorn here and I return to the game, I think my controller should pair up. Yep, there we go. as you can see, we are able to play the game here and, just use the controller now in a iOS game that didn't support this controller natively before. So this really does connect up either via a hardwire or Bluetooth, much like an Xbox or a PlayStation controller would. So it looks like the compatibility here with the proper firmware on your controller is going to deliver you now a great experience on iOS. And that was one of the big things missing from these controllers here. Not bad. Now what I want to do, though, is get my iPhone out and see if it works with some of the game streaming services that I like to play around with. All right, so we've got Xbox Cloud Gaming running here on my iPhone, and I just paired up the controller over Bluetooth like I did before on the iPad, and I didn't have to do anything else to get it working here. It was detected automatically. These game streaming services right now work over a web interface as opposed to being in their own app, and it looks as though any website that has game controller capabilities will get recognized by the Apple Safari browser here. Let's take a look now at the Apple TV. Now, the controller pairs up in the Bluetooth settings inside of your Apple TV. Once it's connected, you can load up a game like Oceanhorn here, and it looks like it's working just as well on the Apple TV as it was on the iPad and iPhone. Now, you can also remap the controls on the iPad and iPhone. If you go to General and over to Game Controller, and then you select your controller here, you can remap controls and actually set up different profiles depending on what you want to do with it. And this will work with any game controller that is compatible with iOS, including all the 8BitDo controllers that are now working with it, along with your Xbox and PlayStation controllers. Now, some of these 8BitDo controllers, the more premium ones like the Pro 2, also have a really cool app called the Ultimate app, which I'm running right here. And this will also work with it. So you can jump in here and remap all the controls and change the sensitivity of the sticks and everything. And you can save those to profiles on the controller itself. And those remappings will work inside of the games that you're playing on the iOS devices. So you do have a lot of customization options here, some built into the OS, and then, of course, some of the customization that comes on the more premium controllers here. So lots of good stuff, and it's great to see compatibility now between 8BitDo and Apple devices, because I know a lot of you wanted to do that. There was a way through the accessibility settings to kind of get it to work, but it was a real pain. Now all you got to do is pair your controller up, and it's going to work with all of the games that are compatible on the iOS and Apple platforms. That's going to do it for now. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters Brian Parker, Chris Allegretta, Hot Sauce and Video Games, Logic KGR, Tom Albrecht, and Amda Brown. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.